So while I'm out here in LA, and tomorrow, it being the 27th anniversary of when Tupac got shot and killed, I figured I would do a video on him to honor his memory, honor his death. So, picture it. It's 1994. You're Tupac Shakur. You're coming up, you're on top of the world right now. November of 1994, you get shot at Quad Studios in a botched robbery. You get put in an ambulance, taken to the hospital. You start blaming everyone around you for the shooting, including the notorious B.I.G. and Puffy Combs. Then you get hit with charges of rape against a woman. You get sentenced to prison. While you're in prison, your 1995 album, Me Against the World, drops. It does amazing. Then you get word that your mother, Afeni Shakur, is about to lose her house. So Tupac hits up Suge Knight of Death Row Records and asks him to help out. Not only does Suge give his mother money to save her house, but he also bails Tupac out of prison. Not long after that, Tupac signs with Death Row Records, and he produces and he releases the heavily acclaimed album All Eyes on Me. So fast forward a little bit. Now he has joined the West Coast to East Coast feud between Death Row and Bad Boy Records. Tupac drops the iconic, infamous, probably the greatest diss track of all time, Hit 'Em Up, where he takes numerous shots at Biggie, at Puffy, at Mobb Deep, Chino XL. It's a huge hit, but it also brings consequences though too. So we go to September 7th, 1996. Tupac and Suge Knight and a bunch of the other Death Row entourage are in Las Vegas. They are there to see the fight of Tupac's friend Mike Tyson versus Bruce Sheldon at the MGM. Tupac is there with his cousin and his fiancée, Kidada Jones, who is the daughter of Quincy Jones. So Mike Tyson knocks out Bruce Sheldon in the first round. Pac is all pumped up. He's pumping his fist. You know, he's energized and whatnot and everything. And then we cut to the main part of my story. Trayvon Lane, a member of Death Row and of the Mob Piru. He sees Southside Compton Crip, Orlando Baby Lane Anderson in the MGM Grand lobby. Now, it was back in July of '96, a few months before Tupac got shot, that Trayvon and a few guys from Death Row, Mob Piru, were at the Lakewood Mall, and they were spotted by Anderson and a few of the Southside Compton Crips. So now apparently there was a rumor that there was a bounty put on the death row chains that the death row members had, the big gold medallion ones. And so Orlando Anderson tried to snatch Trayvon Lane's chain. Now, whether we know that he got it or not, we don't know. I've heard stories saying that he did, saying he didn't. We don't know. So anyway, after that, he gets away. He goes and tells Suge everything. So fast forward back to September of '96 in Las Vegas. Trayvon Lane sees Orlando Anderson. Now, this part gets a little fuzzy for a bunch of people. It was either implied that he had whispered into Tupac's ear that he's like, that's the guy who tried to snatch my chain at the Lakewood Mall. Or he told it to the other death row members. But either way, Tupac ended up running over to Orlando Anderson. And now this is another part where we're kind of fuzzy about is there's a rumor saying that before he hit Anderson in the face, he asked him if he was from the South Side. Now, that's just a rumor. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's one thing that was implied, but we'll probably never know. So, Orlando Anderson gets hit by Tupac, and everybody from the death row entourage that is in Las Vegas that night come over and start stomping and hitting Orlando Anderson. He's on the ground. He's trying to cover his head. He's trying to cover everything else he can of his body. So the fight gets broken up by security. There is the infamous security footage. You can find it on YouTube. It's there. So anyway, Pac starts walking through the lobby. Suge follows behind him. The rest of the death row entourage start following behind him, right? So Tupac goes back to his hotel. He tells Kadada that he has just stomped out a guy that was Southside Compton Crip. So he changes clothes, and he changes into the green basketball jersey that you see in his last known photo alive, and he has on a medallion. So Tupac and Suge are getting ready to leave. They're in their black BMW. They're on their way to Club 662, which Suge owns. They're getting ready for an after party. Mike Tyson's going to be there. Tupac is supposed to perform for him. So, from what I've heard, the stories, if you've watched DJ Vlad on YouTube, you'll know that a couple years back, he had Orlando Anderson's uncle, Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, on there. And he pretty much spilled everything about that night, pretty much. So, apparently, from what was told, Keefe D, Orlando Anderson, and two other guys were in a white Cadillac, and they were looking for Tupac and Suge. Apparently, they waited for them at 662, but they decided to go get some alcohol or some food or something while they waited. It wasn't until a bunch of girls started shouting, "Tupac, Tupac." And then, I don't know, I'm not trying to say that Orlando Anderson was the killer in this situation, but It is very heavily implied, or he was the shooter. My bad. He was the shooter. So that's when the white Cadillac pulls up alongside Tupac and Suge in the black BMW. Shots fire. A clip is emptied. Tupac is shot, I believe, if I remember right, 4 times. He is taken to the hospital where he would die 6 days later on September 13th, 1996. From what I heard, they kept him on life support. They literally kept him on life support for the longest time, and he actually kept dying, and they had to resuscitate him, keep his heart beating and stuff. He had a lung removed. He lost a finger from being shot, but in the end, his mother Afeni said, just let him go. Let him be at peace. So September 13th, 1996, Tupac Amaru Shakur passed away. Now, the reason I'm doing this video today is because I am at Forest Lawn in Long Beach, and I have found the final resting place of the number one suspect, and the number one suspect, the number one shooter and murderer of Tupac Amaru Shakur. I have found the grave, the final resting place of Orlando Baby Lane Anderson. I'm walking to it right now. Orlando Tive Anderson, August 13th, 1974 to May 29th, 1998. He, after the shooting, he was brought in, he was questioned. He was originally not considered a suspect until sometime later. Apparently, he would go around Compton bragging that he shot Tupac and everything, but he denied it till the end. Though there is a video on YouTube of I'm trying to think, a psychologist or like a mannerism guide or something like that, a person who monitors a person's actions and body language and stuff. There's a video of Orlando Anderson being interviewed, and they were asking him if he shot Tupac. He said no, but his body language and the way he was talking and whatnot says otherwise. So, May 29th, 1998, his grandmother, who is buried here with him, she dies. She dies at the age of 85, or almost 85 years old. So Orlando is very, very distraught and upset that he starts drinking. And he is in Compton with his friend Michael Duro. They're at it's either a car wash or at Mom's Burgers. No. They were at Mom's Burgers. They wanted to go get something to eat. They see 2 rival Crip gang members from rival Crip gang Corner Pocket gang. Now, apparently, one of the members owes either Orlando Anderson or his uncle Keefy D some money for drugs. Well, bear in mind, Orlando was drunk, and he was very, very distraught and very, very upset about his grandmother's death that day, that without thinking, he went over to confront them, and a shootout happens. So he ends up killing one of the guys, and then the other guy. But in the process, though, Orlando Anderson gets shot, and as paramedics arrive, he's literally taking his last breaths. And on DJ Vlad, the first responder in Las Vegas, Chris Carroll, quoted Tupac. Tupac's last words while he was conscious was, he said, "Fuck you." When the first responders got to Orlando Anderson, he said the exact same words, "Fuck you," when they asked him if he shot Tupac. So, because him and his friend Michael Duro were there, that ended in the result in 3 murders. Because Michael Duro was there, I don't know the specific title of or law of what it's called, but since he was there and 3 murders happened, they were all put on him. So now he's serving life in prison. And Suge Knight, because he was involved in the beatdown of Orlando at the MGM in Vegas, he violated his parole. So he went back to prison for 9 years. Even though, according to sources, he actually bribed Orlando Anderson to testify to say that he wasn't beating on him. He was trying to get the other death row guys off of him. Well, it didn't turn out the best for Suge. So, like I was talking about with the DJ Vlad video with Orlando Anderson's uncle, Keefe D. From what was said, if you have not seen the interview, I definitely recommend you watch it. It is an amazing one. It's a sad one, though, too. So, in the words of Keefe D, they went looking for Tupac and Suge after Orlando Anderson got beat down. So now the rumor of actually, let me try that back. Not so much a rumor, but from what Keefe D said, there was the, okay, I will say it's a rumor. There was a rumor that Sean Puffy Combs, a bad boy, had actually offered $500,000 each, $500,000 for Tupac and $500,000 for Suge Knight, for Keefe D, Orlando Anderson, and the 2 other Southside Crip members to take them out. Now, according to Keefe D, they never got that money, and that's actually a good thing, because if Puffy had actually given them the money, and knowing that Tupac got shot and killed, that could have been traced, and that could have been brought back on Puffy, and he could easily be serving time in prison right now. But they never got the money. So, obviously, we know the story of what happened after Tupac got shot. 6 months later, Christopher Wallace, aka the Notorious B.I.G., aka Biggie Smalls, was shot and killed on March 9th, 1997 at the Peterson Automotive Museum while leaving a party. That murder still remains unsolved to this day. Same with Tupac's. But I believe Tupac's is more close to being solved than Biggie's is, because there has been so much evidence come out that have literally linked stuff together, linking Orlando Anderson to the crimes. Once again, I'm not saying he is, but he is the #1 most suspected murderer of Tupac. Like the rumor is that because Tupac was leaving Death Row to go form Machiavelli, he was going to form a new record label. And if you remember the album Machiavelli, the Don Machiavelli, the 7 Day Theory, that came out right after Tupac was killed, he had visions and future plans of starting that label. Now, the rumor is that him and Suge were not on good terms when they got to Vegas. So the theory that Suge Knight put out a hit on Tupac, linking Suge and Keefe D and Orlando Anderson together, just don't make sense to me at all. Why would you put yourself in the same vehicle with the target that's going to get shot up? Because remember, Suge Knight got grazed in the head by a bullet, and according to cops and paramedics, he was actually gushing blood out of the side of his head while trying to make sure Tupac was all right and everything. So that, I don't believe that theory for a minute. I don't believe that. I don't believe that Biggie had anything to do with it. I don't believe that the Las Vegas PD had anything to do with it. My true theory is that Pac hit a known gang member. Pac literally hit a gangbanger. And from what I've heard and what I've read, Orlando was a hitter. Orlando was a straight up G. He was actually being investigated for multiple murders at the time of his death. So, I mean, Tupac shouldn't have freaking hit him. If Tupac had literally not hit him, he would probably still be alive today. The thing is that if Suge would have literally talked to Trayvon Lane when Trayvon Lane saw Orlando Anderson in the lobby of the MGM, Suge should have gotten Tupac out of there and had the big homies, like the security for Death Row, they should have went over and took care of Orlando Anderson. But Tupac just got caught up in the wannabe. He wanted to be a gangster, but he wasn't a gangster. He was a rap artist. He was a hip hop star. He was not a gang member. He got associated with the mob Pyru and Death Row that he was thinking he was one of them. And then he paid the consequences. Because literally, as soon as he hit and started beating Orlando Anderson, his fate was sealed. If Pac had not laid his hands on Orlando Anderson, he would still be alive today. Biggie would probably still be alive today. They probably would have worked everything out. They would have dropped the West Coast, East Coast drama and rivalry. But sadly, that's not how things turned out. And we lost two great rap legends. For me, Tupac is in the top 3 for me for rappers of all time. Biggie's top 5. Whenever I hear Pac songs or see him in the movies he made, it really gets me, because he's been gone almost 27 years tomorrow. And it's just really hard to imagine of what all he could have accomplished if he was still here. Literally, there was 6 more albums that came out after he died over the years. He had some great movies. He had Juice. He had Bullet. He had Above the Rim. He had the cameo Nothing But Trouble. Poetic Justice. Poetic Justice is one of my favorites of all time. I definitely feel that if Pac was going to get out of the rap game, I definitely feel he could have been an amazing actor. I do. Now, the confession with Keefe D on Vlad TV, when the police brought Keefe D in for questioning back in 2006, or it was either 2006 or 2007, I believe, he was offered a deal. I can't remember the name of the deal, but I'm trying to think. But basically, he thought that since he told them that he had immunity. Well, that's not how it goes, apparently, because recently, if you've seen in the news recently, the cops went to his wife's house in Las Vegas, and they found some stuff. You got some laptops, some tablets, some magazines with Tupac or whatever. So I don't know if that's going to be crucial evidence. I don't know if Keefe D is going to be staying out of jail. I don't even know the full story. I don't even know the full story of what's even happened with that situation yet. So pretty much, if you go and watch Keefe D's interview with DJ Vlad on YouTube, he literally tells the full story of that night, September 7th, 1996, in Las Vegas, to stuff before that, and then stuff after that. From everything from the Lakewood Mall incident to him and Suge actually used to be childhood friends. And then the night of the shooting, the aftermath of what happened, the death of Orlando Anderson. Now, Keefe D did not straight up come out and say Orlando Anderson did it. My nephew did it. But the reason why he's being able to say stuff now is because everyone that was in that white Cadillac the night that Tupac got shot, except for one person is still alive, and that is Keefe D. Orlando Anderson's dead, and the two other guys, the driver and the other guy in the back seat, is dead. So they can't testify. They can't say nothing. You know, just being out here right now and being at Orlando Anderson's final resting place, knowing possibly the facts of what we know, it just, the possibility to know that this man right here ended the life of arguably the greatest rapper of all time and a potential prodigy for many, many more amazing things to come. Bear in mind the fact that Tupac was only 25 years old. 25 when he got murdered. Biggie was only 24. They literally had their whole lives ahead of them, and they got cut short. Biggie didn't deserve to die. Pac didn't deserve to die. Like I've said, if Pac had not put his hands on Orlando Anderson, a lot of the aftermath never would have happened. But Tupac got in that mindset that he was a straight up gangster and he was a gang member, and he wasn't. He associated himself with Mob Piru, who ruled death row, and he was at the wrong place at the wrong time. He should not have gone over and hit Orlando Anderson. Straight up. But anyway, if you have not seen the DJ Vlad interview with Keefy D, there's 2 of them, I believe, or read Keefy D's book, Compton Street Legend, I believe it's called, definitely check them out. Whether you want to believe that Orlando Anderson was the murderer of Tupac, let me know in the comments what you think, or who you think murdered Tupac. And then let me know who you think murdered Biggie. There's just so many questions unanswered that we will probably never know, and about these 2 murders. But like I said before, we are closer to probably solving Tupac's murder than we are to Biggie's. Because like I said, there has been so much info come out about the murder of Tupac. What transpired afterwards, and everything in between. Like I said, being here and being at the final resting place of the #1 suspected murderer of Tupac Shakur is just excuse me, is just spine tingling, emotional, and it just gives me chills to know that I'm in the presence of one of the most notorious people when it comes to not just murder. I'm not saying he's known for that, but it's just he was involved in the loss of one of the biggest rap and hip hop legends of all time. It's just straight up, it's spine tingling, bone chilling. It's just, I don't know, man. It's but with that being said, rest in peace to Tupac. Wish you were still here. God only knows what you could have done up till now. The real question is, do I or do I not say rest in peace to Orlando Anderson? I mean, bear in mind the fact that he was somebody's son. He was a brother. He was a father and a friend. But he lived a lifestyle that eventually would take the life of one of the greatest rappers of all time. Now, once again, I'm not straight up saying that Anderson did it, because I don't have the evidence to prove it. I can't say, hey, I finally figured it out and can prove that Orlando Anderson killed Tupac. I can't do it. But to me, the proof is in the pudding, pretty much. Sadly, all signs point to Orlando. But like I said, it's one of those things that we might not ever be able to figure out. You know, there are so many conspiracies behind the murder of Tupac and Biggie. Like, If it was literally like straight up just them getting murdered, and then like just people cooperating. That was one of the biggest things. Suge and Death Row would not cooperate whatsoever. If they would have cooperated, then the murder of Tupac would probably be solved by now. So apparently, according to Keefy D, when the white Cadillac pulled up alongside Tupac and Suge in the black BMW, him and Suge and Keefy D locked eyes. They knew who was in the car. Straight up, they knew exactly who was in the car. If only they would have cooperated. But snitching is one of the biggest no-nos on the streets. Now, I myself am not a gang member. I never have been, never will be. So I can't speak on gang terms and everything. So, but I know for a fact that whenever it comes to snitching, it's not allowed. So I know that's probably the main reason why Suge and Death Row and the Mob Piru and the Southside Compton Crips never spoke to authorities until Keefy D did. Because when they brought him in for questioning, he was being placed he was, let me rephrase that, he was in custody because he got caught with drugs. So they were offering him a deal to give up some info about Tupac, and he believed that he couldn't be sent to prison for his testimony. Well, like I said, the news recently about the stuff they found in Vegas, I don't know what's going to happen. I do not know for one reason what's going to happen. I don't know. All I know is today, the day before the 27th anniversary of Tupac Amaru Shakur's death day, I am at Forest Lawn in Long Beach, California, at the grave and final resting place of the #1 suspect and killer, the guy who possibly pulled the trigger, Orlando Tive Baby Lane Anderson. He rests here with his grandmother. They both died on the same day. Now that's very tragic. But if you look at it though, there was a lot of coincidences and a lot of similar situations and scenarios. Tupac being at the MGM Grand, Orlando Anderson being at the MGM Grand. They probably shouldn't have been there. They probably should not have been in the presence of each other. And then with Orlando Anderson, he was grieving over the death of his grandmother, which is completely understandable. But he went into a situation that he did not walk away alive from, and he lost his life. He was in his early 20s. I think he was actually younger than Tupac. He had 4 kids, I believe, and now they've grown up without a father. But yeah, I'm at the grave and final resting place of Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, the #1 suspected shooter and murderer of Tupac Amaru Shakur. September 7th, 1996 is when Tupac was shot. He was literally on life support for 6 days until finally his mother, Feeney, told him to just let him go. September 13th, 1996, the world lost Tupac at age 25. Lost a rap legend, hip-hop legend, a cultural icon. Literally, anywhere you go probably in the world, everybody knows Tupac. They have murals of him. You can hear his music blasting, his movies playing, interviews. He's still known. He's still very well known, even 27, almost 27 years after his death. His honor, his legacy, his memory, his image will never die. He is always with us. Whether it's in his music, his images, his movies, or his interviews. He's always with us. Well, anyway, with that being said, this Codeman Travels. Hang on a second. Sorry, I had to catch myself there for a second because I still can't believe that it was just that grave right there. This is probably one of the, I've been to some pretty big graves of very famous people, but that's one of the top ones I just did, and that's just, anyways, Codeman's Travels, Forest Lawn, Long Beach. Thank you.